Now, active reconnaissance tool. So now we're actually going to be connecting and actually, conducting hands-on analysis of whoever our targets are. So the first active reconnaissance tool that I'm going to go over is probably the most important one. Nmap is the name of the tool, and it is a port scanner. And if you're a penetration tester or ethical hacker, you're gonna use Nmap. You have no way around it. Okay, it's a very versatile port scanner that can be used to scan entire networks so that you can see what ports are open. By looking at the ports that are open, Nmap can actually determine, what operating system that device is, what services are running on the devices. You'll be able to see, what ports are like closed or filtered, and actually find the open ones, like I said before, and discover like vulnerabilities with Nmap. It also has like a built-in vulnerability scanner too, which a lot of people probably don't even know about or use. So let's play with a few different Nmap commands. So I'm back on my Kali Linux machine, and for this one, we're actually going to need some of our targets to be up. So I have my Metasploitable virtual machine up and running right here. The IP address on this one, all of them, the network address, if you remember from the networking section that you should have watched, the network address is 192.168.56. That's the network address for our little host-only network that we have. And the specific address for the Metasploitable machine ends in 104, and for our Windows 10 machine, it ends in 21. So what we can do is, let's do Nmap, and let's check out 192.168.56. Let's check out the Metasploitable machine and actually do .104. So when it comes to Nmap, there's a lot of different flags that you can do. So there's a couple different kinds of scans that you can do. So what you typically want to do is the SYN scan, and it pretty much like it initiates the TCP, like three-way handshake, but it doesn't finish it. So this is the best way to scan undetected, and the way that you're gonna do that is with a dash lowercase s and then a capital S. So this is going to perform a SYN scan. If you wanted to do a full TCP scan, then you would just put a T right here. But for right now, we're gonna do just SS. Okay. After this, you might want to determine, what ports do you want to do. You determine this with -P, and you don't have to put a space right here, but you can. So if you wanted to do every single port, so you would do port 1 through 65535. Remember, if you watch the networking section, you would know that. But for right now, we'll just do, actually no, we'll do it 65535. We'll do all the ports right now. So right now we have it set up to where we're going to do an Nmap on our Metasploitable machine. It's going to do a SYN scan, which means it's not going to complete the handshake, so it's pretty much undetectable for the most part. We're going to do a -P, specify that we're going to scan every port from 1 to 65535. So it's going to scan all those ports, and it's going to tell us if they're open or not. So one neat thing that we can do is, if we only want to see results, because Nmap spits out a lot of results. If we only want to see results for open ports, we can do --open. And this is just going to show us any ports that Nmap finds, that's actually open. This will conduct a basic SYN scan, so we can go ahead and actually run this one and see what the results look like. Okay, and obviously I need sudo rights, so just remember, if you want to do like a sudo -I, so you don't have to do this, but I'm just going to do sudo. And then we're just going to let it go and give it a couple minutes, and we're going to come back with some results. Look at what our Nmap scan did. It only took about like 3 seconds. So it scanned all of those ports that fast on that machine, and figured out which ones were actually open, and it told us. So for example, this FTP is open on that one. SSH is open. Telnet is open. That's really bad. So we can connect over Telnet on this machine. Remember, this is Metasploitable, so it's supposed to be, exploitable. So you can see all the different services that are actually running over these open ports, and these are definitely all things that you want to take note of, because you could probably exploit each single one of these if you actually looked into them, and we're going to be looking into some of those when we actually start attacking. But right now we're in the information gathering stage. For our next scan, let's say that we want to figure out the version of these services that are running on each one of those open ports that we saw. So what we can do is actually a version scan. All I did over here was change the SS to a S capital V, and then now that's actually gonna go look at these open ports and tell us actually what the service is and like the version. It's gonna try to at least. So let's go ahead and run that scan. And also, just a quick note: if you want to enable verbose mode, which means just showing like more output while it's running stuff, so it's kind of entertaining honestly to see what's happening while it's happening. You can just do a dash VV for very verbose, and it's gonna show you output while the scan is actually conducting. So you see, it's actually telling, hey, discover this port open, discover that port. So it's gonna tell us stuff while it's actually happening. So let's give some time, and then we're gonna look at the results from this version scan. Okay, so our service version scan actually completed, and look at all this information that we figured out. So remember we did very verbose, so it showed us the open ports when it found it. But look at this. Now we have a column that says version, and it's telling us, hey, over port 21, it's running VSFTPD 2.3.4. Now we can use that information, and we're going to talk about it later on, like how to find exploits for these things. So I can guarantee that majority of these are exploitable, and it's going to be pretty fun when we actually get to attack it. So this is the type of stuff that you want to document. And one other thing that you could do also, just for any of these commands, if you do want to output it into a file, you would just do dash O and then the file name, like notes.txt, and it'll put it it'll create that file notes.txt in the current directory, or you can specify where you want it at, like slash, I don't know, slash root slash something. I don't know. It doesn't matter. So it'll create that file and put all the output into that file, and then you'll be good to go. You can reference that anytime, like maybe during your penetration test. You're coming back to see, you're checking through like one thing at a time, going to see if it's vulnerable or not, and then you come back for the next thing because you want to document everything. Very, very powerful. Another command that I like to run that's actually a very, very useful command. Now you can add, so when these switches, you can add these are called switches. You can add these, like you can do different types at the same time. But what I've noticed is that when I do this, it's kind of overwhelming with the information. So I like to just have one switch at a time and have them in separate scans. So this dash A, I like to call it the all option, the all switch. That's what I like to call it, because it does the version. It looks for versions of services. It'll do a port scan for you. It will also do operating system discovery, and it'll also like break down more about each service that is discovered on these open ports. So let's go ahead and run this and see what kind of results that we get. So the scan is finished, and look at this wealth of information just from this one scan. So let's break it down a little bit. So as you can see, it discovered the open ports. It did a regular Nmap scan. Also went through and scanned the services as set up there. So now it found, okay, port 21 is open. It's running this as we saw before, but it's a little bit more of a breakdown. Like it said, hey, anonymous FTP login is allowed. So it actually went and tested that. So now we know that's a potential entry point for us. So that maybe it's something to take note of. And then also, like right here, port 22 is open, is running SSH. It gives us the open SSH version that is running. It just gives us a lot more detail and breakdown of what's actually found running on these ports. I really recommend that you use the dash A switch. It can be a little bit overwhelming at first, but this is actually really good information. It's actually formatted not too bad. You get used to looking at all this different text and stuff. And what I also wanted to show was that it actually did a operating system scan. So it can tell, hey, it's running Linux the 2.6 kernel, and just gives you information about that. So it's pretty positive. Sometimes it'll give you a guess of the operating system, but this one it knew exactly just based on the fingerprints that it was able to get from the scan. So it's just a lot of stuff that we can get with Nmap. So I really recommend that you go in and actually play around with Nmap, because this is going to be your bread and butter when it comes to penetration testing. Okay, so another type of scan that's very useful that you're going to want to do is a UDP scan, and that is signified by this. Remember how we had the dash S and then the capital S for a SYN scan? So we want to do a dash cap S capital U here to signify, hey, go do a UDP scan. Because remember from the networking section, there's ports, there's 65,535 ports on TCP, but also on UDP, and the service is running on UDP as well. So you definitely want to check, into specific systems, like, if they have services running over UDP. I've definitely seen on assessments where there's not really many services running on TCP, but when I do a UDP scan, I find services that I could potentially exploit. So I'm just doing ports 1 through 100 just to show and see if we can actually get anything from it. So let's go ahead and run the command. Okay, so this scan finished. So let's actually look at it. So it went through and actually told us, hey, this port's closed, this port's closed. If it says open filtered, most likely it's probably a closed port that's just filtered. It's just not going to give you a response that you want. I believe that it actually found like UDP 53 is open, so DNS is running over that port. We can also do version scans on these ports as well. So if we can do it on that specific port, just see, just for the heck of it, just see, what's on that. So let's do that really quick. So you know how we've been doing ranges typically, but we can actually just specify a specific port. So right here, we'd be scanning DNS over UDP and try to see, let's see, we want to figure out version, so we can do -SV and figure out, maybe we can figure out what version of what's running over that port. So see right here, it was saying, hey, it's running DNS, and it's running this right here. So this version right here, pretty useful. So I definitely recommend go around, play with it, make sure that you do your UDP scans. Okay, something interesting. Nmap, like I said, it comes with a vulnerability scanner. So what you can actually do is you can use it comes with scripts as well that can do different things. I'm not going to go over all the scripts, but for example, if we wanted to, let's pull this back up. So that we have our target right here. What we can do is actually run an Nmap script to figure out, if there's any SMB or something like that available on this system. So we can do Nmap, and then we have our target, and then we can actually do a -- script, and then say equals, and then SMB -OS -discovery. And it's gonna go actually run this script that's built into Nmap and actually let us know, if what it finds. So let's go ahead and run this. So it's done. So it did a quick Nmap scan of just some default ports that it would look for when you don't specify specific ports. But right here is the script results that we wanted. So it pretty much used SMB to try to figure out what the OS was. So it's saying, hey, the OS is Unix or Linux, and Samba 3.0 is actually being run. So that's something that's very useful, and it's something that we kind of figured out before from different scans. But the point is, there's different ways to find out the different information. Nmap has a bunch of different scripts that we can actually use. Like there's a DNS zone transfer script that you can use, actually a help script that you can call, well, a switch that you can call. So you can do Nmap --script -help, and then you can put the script name. So let's say DNS zone transfer. How do I use this script? And it'll actually spit out some help for you. So here's the DNS zone transfer description of what it does, and just some help on how to use it and such. So definitely look into the different scripts that Nmap provides us with, because it's very useful, and you can actually look for vulnerabilities. So because there's some scripts that actually will look for SMB vulnerabilities, for example. Also, if you're wondering, you can take a look. You can just do a quick ls, the directory where the Nmap scripts are, so you can see what scripts are available, so that you can run them with that --script equals command along with Nmap. So you can do a ls of /usr /share /nmap /scripts, and it's gonna give you a list of all the scripts. So all kinds of stuff here, man. So you can find out all kinds of stuff. So it's pretty cool. They even have some MongoDB scripts. They have some scripts that work on Metasploit, a lot of different stuff, firewall bypassing, firewalk. That's something I like to use when I'm, conducting penetration tests a lot. It'll allow you to figure out, what rules might be in place, for a specific firewall, so you can plan your attack a little bit better.